cannabis activists alike. We're back with another edition of My Marijuana Chronicles, sponsored as always by our good friends at O2 Vape. Make sure you check them out at o2vape.com and use promo code MyMMANews at checkout for 20% off your order. Also, make sure you go to MMATcode.com and grab your official My Marijuana Chronicles merch. They have tees, they have hoodies, they have different colors. Make sure you grab yours now and support the world's and only official combat sports podcast. On this edition, we have a very special returning guest, my man Don McGuire, the host of the original Fighter's Voice with Don McGuire. The dude's done it all in the MMA game, snapping some of the hottest picks, grabbing thought-provoking interviews with the fighters you know and love. He's a cannabis enthusiast, activist, and patient. I'm just fortunate enough to have him returning as a guest on My Marijuana Chronicles. So, without further ado, my man Don McGuire. And tell me what's been new in the life of Don McGuire, the illustrious life of Don McGuire.
You mean new? You mean the last year, or do you mean recently? Because the last year is kind of what I'd like to touch on,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I went in for a revision on my amputation and to get my knee fusion. And they had to take part of my, the whole front left crest of my pelvis to do so. And it got infected really, really fast. So they took me in and they did a CT and some other tests, and they found out that I had prostate and colon cancer along with the infection. My bladder wasn't working, my kidney wasn't functioning. And so they immediately wanted me to go into chemotherapy. Well, I don't have an immune system, being that I'm a diabetic and I've been sick for quite some time. And I found out about this research program out of the Columbia, out of Mizzou, the University of Columbia, Mizzou, and it's the radiation C treatment. Well, the doctors here kept trying to cut me off. And so I did some research on my own, and I found out about Rick Simpson oil, and I started diving really, really deep into it. And the more I read about it, the more I was intrigued. Here you have a man that created a product, doesn't charge anybody, went around the country saving kids, that were having seizures and things like this, ran from law enforcement. The only money the man's ever made off of marijuana was the 2 books that he published about his works and his thought processes on it. And so it intrigued me. It made me dig even deeper. And so I started finding cancer studies once I found out that Rick Simpson had cancer himself, and he was utilizing RSO as a topical solution. And within 3 weeks, his skin cancer went away. The doctors couldn't believe it. Nobody could believe it. And so I started reading. As most people know, I don't watch TV, so I'm just a total geek and eccentric in that way. But I ran across a product called FECO, and it's the same as Rick Simpson oil, but they don't use isopropyl alcohol. They don't use all that coconut base. It's a full spectrum, and they use corn grain alcohol, so it burns off cleaner, and you don't have any additives to the treatment. Well, I wanted to do the treatment because I wasn't approved for the cancer C treatment yet. The hospital here, Mercy, kept trying to block me every step of the way. So I said, you know what? I contacted several doctors that I know worldwide and got their thought processes on what they thought about RSO and FECO. And what I got back really shocked me. Most of the doctors were all for it. I went and I got my medical marijuana card. I mean, I didn't care. I've been smoking pot since I was 13, but in the state of Missouri, they're kind of cracking down on things. So in order for me to get FECO, I had to have my medical marijuana card. Well, a lot of people don't understand, and they say, okay, well, Don, we looked at the treatment. You ingest 40 grams of FECO in 60 days, and it's supposed to cure the cancer. That's pretty true to fact. But the thing of it is, they also don't want to tell you that it's $80 a gram, and you're utilizing a gram a day, if not more. And so I hadn't worked in 2 years because of the pandemic. And so when I lost 5.5 months worth of work, and then of course, you know how everything goes, bad in threes. My sewer main went, my home central heat and air went, my cat got sick. I mean, it was just like a bad country song. And I went through my life savings in a blink of an eye. So with the help of Grant Wistrom, a former defensive end from the St. Louis Rams, and a world, I mean, he's a world champion. They won I think they won 2 Super Bowl trophies. He opened up a dispensary here called Revival 98. And I had went in and I spoke with him, and I spoke to his general manager about the situation that I was going through. And they decided that they were going to give me 40% off of anything that I purchased at their dispensary, which, you know, as well as I know, it saved my
Yeah.
life.
That's amazing.
I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
Grant
For
Wistrom
those
went
that
up.
don't know, I'm not trying to cut you off, but for those that don't know, the price savings in what what could have been life ending is just that's astronomical of not just a hookup, but just somebody actually looking out for somebody's life. That's not just the homie hookup. That's somebody concerned about someone's life. Continue. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm glad you brought it up because, you know, I even get a better discount than his mother. I mean, that's how concerned he was with it, you know. And I went into the FECO treatment, you know. I figured, well, you know, let's try it, you know. And I tell you what, I finally, like, after 2 weeks of being on FECO, I started noticing that I was able to go to the back because I had prostate and colon cancer. You know, it's
Hmm.
not like it's the two worst that you can get.
Yeah.
But I started noticing that, you know, things were kind of chilling out on me. Life was starting to get better for me. And, you know, and it was like, man, I kind of dig on this. And about the same time, I got accepted into the University of Missouri, Columbia. I got accepted into the radiation C treatment. But I was concerned that since I was already so in deep on the FECO with the radiation tree, you know, C treatment cause an issue. So I, you know, being that I've been in the sport for over 30 years, I'm privy to a lot of tremendous doctors, scientists, and things of that nature. And they all said, no, bro. They said, you know, actually, this would be good to do in correlation because, for one, you're already taking down the inflammation, you're already attacking the source with the FECO. This will just knock it out of the park. So I went in for my first treatment, and 2 days later, after my first treatment, I got COVID. And I was like, bro, I'm like you. I was like, okay, first you know, I had a heart attack last March. Then I got my kidney arteries and all that fixed in April. Made it out to AJ McKee's birthday. And then here I am all this time later. Now I'm back at square one, fighting with all this. And the thing of it was, it was like, for me, I had to forge ahead. There was no going backwards for me. And you know, I utilized the FECO to help actually get me through the COVID. And a lot of people are probably saying, well, how's that possible? Well, see, the major problem with COVID is inflammation in your lungs. You know, what does FECO attack first? Inflammation, uh, pain control. Then all my doctors said, okay, now let's correlate this together with medicines that you already have at your house. You have asthma, correct? I said, yeah. They said, okay, you got cortisone steroids with your COPD medicine and your asthma medicine, and you can do breathing treatments at home. So what we did was we utilized the FECO with the products that I already had at home from the pharmacy to help me get through COVID. I don't have an immune system. I haven't had an immune system in years. So being able to, you know, utilize this it was heartfelt because my son didn't know. I could hear him through the vent in the floor from one room to the other. And my son is actually the one that brought COVID home. And my son thought he killed me. And you and I are friends, so you know me, but a lot of people don't know me like this. You know, the reason I've been through 245 surgeries and the reason I still fight no matter what is because of my wife and my son. So to hear my son say that, you know, he felt that he probably killed me, it hurt me, bro. It broke me. And it made me
Yeah.
realize that I had to fight not only twice as hard, but 10 times as hard because I wasn't going to go and let my son think that he was the one that, you know, that ended my life. I don't roll like that. I'm different than a lot of people in this sport. Is I care about people. You know, I'm the first person to answer somebody's comment. I'm the first person when somebody's on the end of a soapbox, you know, wanting to end their life. I'm the first person that picks up the phone and calls them. You know, I didn't know I was different in this sport, but I was damn sure I wasn't going to let my son think that he ended my life. But the thing about FECO, and I think a lot of people, you know, and I've turned them on to this afterwards. The thing about it is when I went back for my second cancer treatment, the doctor walks in and says, "What in the are you doing?" And I thought I did something wrong, homie. You know,
You're
I
getting
really,
nervous off the rip.
yeah. And he was like, "You were just in here and your prostate was 7 times the size it's supposed to be. Now we run the test today and your prostate's normal. It's actually smaller than it was when, you know, before you even got the cancer." I was like, they said, "What are you doing?" And I told them FECO, and they said, well, "Never heard of it." And of course, you never heard of it because, you know, that's big pharma. Big pharma, you know, what they wanted me to was to go through 30, 40,000, $50,000 worth of chemotherapy. When I know FECO costs a lot and it's several $1,000s, but with Grant giving me the 40% off and everything, you know, it saved my life because I couldn't go through chemo. Chemo would kill me. So what it did was when they told me that my prostate was that small, I told them, and they said, "Well, we've never heard of this stuff before." And I said, "Of course you haven't, because, you know, you would never utilize anything like this." And the doctor that I happened to see, he was so intrigued in it that he asked me to send him some of the research papers that I found. And he said he was going to start utilizing FECO as an additive to some patients' therapies because he never realized that this existed, you know. And after reading the research papers, it opened his mind that pharmaceutical isn't always the right way to handle a situation. And, you know, chemotherapy, a lot of people don't understand. They think chemo, you go in, you get it, you're done, you go home. You don't want to talk about when your neck cracks open all the way down to the meat. You can't brush your teeth because your gums are bleeding and ripping and falling apart, you know. And I would still shoot fights and events during all this. But I was utterly amazed, man, because the University of Columbia, Mizzou, it's a teaching hospital. But what I found there was some of the most compassionate, caring doctors that I've ever met in my whole life. And so this gentleman now is going to utilize FECO with some of his elderly patients. And like I was saying, I still utilize it because I'm not in remission yet. I'll find out in about another month here. But what I found is after 30 plus years of shooting fights, seminars, and the things that I do, I'd go shoot a fight. Let's say I'd go shoot PFL or, you know, Invicta in Kansas City, or even the UFC down in Houston. By the time I got home, I had to ask my wife and my son to come peel me out of the car because I was hurting so bad from being bone on bone and the arthritis and, you know, all these years of leaning over aprons and trying to get that one perfect shot, because I also shoot concerts too. But I realized that the FECO took away my arthritis. It took away the bone on bone pain. I mean, so I'll never get off of FECO. The thing about what I love about it, and I want to clarify for people, the 40 grams in 60 days is for cancer purposes only. It's only to be utilized for cancer purposes only. Now, the average person, if you were to take FECO, what you would do is, depending on how bad your arthritis or your pain or your fused back or whatever's giving you crap, you put a rice grain, the size of a rice grain, on your finger, and you just put it in your mouth and you swallow it. After about an hour, of course, you'll feel a little bit buzzed, but then 30 minutes later, it leaves your head and it goes directly into your body. And once it goes into your body, you don't feel nothing no more. You feel like you're 20 years old again. I mean, bro, it's so incredible. It's like, I feel like I found the fountain of youth in FECO. I really do.
It's ironic that you say that the doctors didn't have any clue about it. I'm curious if the doctors were relatively younger or older. And with that said, why is Big Pharma not even pushing this on any part of an agenda when doctors are clearly backing it? They see the progress that it's making in a patient like yourself. Why is there still that blockade that's just preventing and almost being prohibition?
It's money.
Yeah.
It's money. You know, where like I stated earlier, if I would have went the old fashioned treatment way and I would have went through chemo and risked my life one more time, you know, I probably would have been outwards of probably $250,000, $300,000 once everything was said and done. The hospitals can't make money off of a product like this, but I'm finding a new era in these doctors. I'm finding a new, I guess you could say, a path of trailblazers that really don't care about big pharma. They care
Yeah.
more about their patients. And, you know, bro, trust me, my heart about hit the ground when this doctor said, I'm going to start utilizing this. You know, I'm going to research it some more, but I think I'm going to start utilizing this because, you know, it's like, just for my chemotherapy drugs alone, you know, one prescription, you're out 1,400 bucks. I mean, 60 bucks, 80 bucks is cheap, you know, so they're not washing the back of big pharma, but they're taking care of their patients. And see, you and I both know that medical care has gone down since the beginning of the pandemic. It's gone to crap. I'm not going to lie with you. When I had the titanium screws taken out of my leg last 2 weeks ago, they dropped me off the operating room table. You know, they're not going to admit to it, but I know I didn't fall. How am I black and blue from my shoulder all the way down to my rear end? But the thing of it is I found through going to the city clinic here because you get called a drug addict when you have a medical marijuana card. They want to call you a drug addict because you're not taking their drugs.
Yeah.
You know, that's the funny part about it. You know, all these years I was on methadone, morphine, clonopin, Dilaudid, all the stuff that they used to put me on. And when I got off it on my own quite a few years ago, you know, they say, oh, you're never going to do it. You're going to die. You're going to this, you're going to, you know, leave your family, blah, 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 blah. But then when medical marijuana came to Missouri, and now that I do it, now all of a sudden I'm a drug addict, you know. And it just cracks me up. And I told the doctor, I said, how am I a drug addict now when I wasn't 10 years ago? I said, I've always told you from day one that I smoked marijuana since I was 13. I said, you're just mad that I'm finding products now that are utilizing, that are holistic, that are taking way better care of me than anything you can give me. I mean, I went through this last surgery without any pain medicine.
Which is
None.
wild.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely wild. How do you make it through without any pain medications? Obviously, I'm sure that the FECO, everything in that nature helped, and obviously cannabis, but that's not any like, you know, just like I'm gonna get this sewed up real quick. Not a broken nose I'm just gonna replace and I'm good to go. Some serious stuff that you're just F the pain medicine, I'm good.
Well, well, bro, to tell you the truth, it was really the FECO and Vivid 30 milligram gummies.
Mm.
I mean, that, and then I forget who makes these caramel apple suckers. But the first night I had my surgery, I had ran out of my Vivid Dreamsicle gummies, and I was running a little bit low on my FECO. And so I popped out one of these suckers, and, you know, they're 30 milligrams. And I, I laid down, I was hurting. I put it in the side of my mouth. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning with the sucker stuck to the side of my hair. But I made it through without no pain medicine. And, you know, it's like when they try to prescribe me pain medicine, you know, it was like, I didn't say anything because like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was at the doctor's and I'd went in and I was trying to get a new primary care. And she looked at me and she said, well, you fell through the crack. I said, what do you mean I fell through the crack? She said, well, to be quite honest with you, if I knew you were on Valium, I would never even have scheduled this appointment. I said, let's get one thing clear. I said, the state of Missouri took $26.3 million from the federal government to fight opiates. Valium's not an opiate. It's a benzopene. I said, secondly, I have PTSDs and I have anxiety. I said, so, you know, you could call me whatever you want. I said, but try to bill me for this appointment and you'll find out how powerful and how, you know, how quick that your words will come against you. Well, make a long story short, that's why I ended up having to go to that clinic, the family Jordan Valley Clinic, which to me, it kind of had a stigma. You know, it was known for a place that helped poor people and helped drug addicts. And help get them, behavioral health and things like this. And me being a public figure, I really didn't want to go to that type of facility because I didn't want it on my public record.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest with you, what I found shocked me. I found compassionate doctors. I pull up and the handicap spots are like, half a football field away. If it's raining, people come out with umbrellas so you don't get wet as you walk into the facility. I found a facility that was 100 times cleaner than a hospital. I found doctors that were donating their time. I found doctors that were working for next to nothing because they truly want to heal people. They truly want to take care of people. That they're truly compassionate about what they do. And that's something you're not going to find at a real hospital, and the sad thing is, and people, they don't really want to realize it, for people like me, the pandemic could have been my death sentence. I lost a team of 23 years, all in one fell swoop over this vaccination or jab or whatever you want to call it. A lot of these doctors quit because once they were heroes, now they're being condemned because they didn't want to do something against their will. But see, it's not easy to build a team for someone like me. I've been given multiple death sentences. They say I shouldn't be here. But what I found in this facility was doctors that were open to me being, on holistic medication and not wanting to be on pain medication. I found doctors that were open-minded and care enough to understand and are willing to look and research a product, not ridicule me. And I remember one lady saying that 30 milligrams of Valium a day was just too much. So she said I had to go to the psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist, of course, the first thing they're going to do is like you and I, we research people. So he already knew who I was when I walked into the office. And he goes, well, you're not happy to be here, are you? And I said, nope. And he said, well, I don't blame you. He said, give me 1 minute. He picked up the phone and he called the doctor. And he said, don't you ever send a man like Mr. McGuire into my office again. He's not a psych patient. You should never schedule this appointment. You should just handle this medication management on your own. If you would have done any research, you would see that Mr. McGuire is not a threat to society nor to himself. He said, hell, you go look on his Facebook page. He said, suicide doesn't take away the pain. It just passes it on to others. And if you go in the comments, he puts, my phone's always open if you have PTSDs, other issues, or you're just feeling, that you're on the last limb of your life, you can give me a call. I open my life to people, bro. So it was a slap in the face to me to go there, but he went to town, bro. He went to town on this doctor. And because I didn't want that on my permanent record, right, that I went to a psychiatrist. So this doctor ended up, prescribing me the medicine that I needed, and they're cool with the path that I'm on. I mean, yeah, I did just get out of the hospital again for some heart-related issues. But the thing of it is, would I be here without FECO? Would I be here without RSO? Would I be here without flower and things of that nature? No, man. And I think it's a stigma that society puts in front of us, but they really don't know what they're talking about. I can go to the dispensary right now, and if it was lawful, I could show you pictures of attorneys, doctors, extremely wealthy people of all walks of life going into the dispensary, young, old, I mean, middle age, it doesn't matter. I mean, see, the thing of it is, people are realizing that what God created and put on this earth is far better than anything man-made that they're giving us and trying to shove down our throat. We don't know what's in that, but we know what's coming out of the ground, and it's why, that's why I like doing your show, because, you're a strong advocate, for marijuana and the products that come from marijuana. But see, people need to open their mind and realize that it's not like the past. It's not like you're doing a deal in the back alley. No, it's nothing like that. To all the grandparents and elder fighters and people that have spent their life in this sport, trust me, I'm almost 60 years old, and this is by far, the only thing that has kept me alive. If I left it up to the medical care and the facilities that I go to, I wouldn't be here, bro.
As I said the other day when we were on the phone, undefeated and undisputed, though. How many surgeries? Undefeated, undisputed.
245. This was my 245th surgery. That isn't even counting all my procedures. You know that, and that's a thing that, I mean, I am prideful about that. I am prideful that but see, the thing of it is, it goes back to like what I said about me hearing my son thinking he said he killed me, but it really goes back to my grandfather. You know, the man that when I was sick, he put his foot in my ass and said, "Get up, you're going to work." I said, "I'm sick." He kicked me again. He dragged me out of bed. He made me dig ditches for 17 hours that day. He wasn't trying to teach me not to be lazy. He wasn't trying to teach me not to be sick, but he was trying to teach me was I have responsibilities. I signed up for a wife. I got my wife pregnant. And whenever you have responsibilities, it isn't about you. You get up and you take care of your responsibilities. You do what is required of you as a man. See, that's a problem with today's society, though. You know, I know you see me post that my son is my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
My son's been all over everywhere with me, God's green earth with me. But it's amazing how many people don't have that relationship with their kids. And, you know, it's sad, but you know what? That the whole purpose of what I do in this sport, it's never been about me, never will be about me. I mean, people can hate me, people can whatever. My page has always been public. You can come talk all the crap you want on my page. I guarantee you won't get 3 sentences in without a legend or a world champion putting you in your place. But the thing of it is I do this for the kids, man. I mean, yeah, I do have fun with Matt Hughes and Jens Pulver and Militich and Kung Lee. I mean, how many people do you know can actually say that Kung Lee interviewed them? Not many.
Right. That's pretty interesting. You've definitely led an interesting life as I've seen through the past years, which I do want to talk about that as well, but continue what you were saying.
But it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just this sport. I don't know. Everybody goes into it for their own intensive reasons. And I just went into the sport like my grandfather told me, go in as Don, don't ever change, and just stay the man that I taught you to be. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, how are you still here 30 something years later? Well, that's how. You just be you. You know, bro, you know, how many shows have you seen come every 3 to 5 years?
Too many. Too many.
I mean, how many photographers and radio show hosts like me that have been around for 30 plus years? How
Well,
many of
everybody wants they find the niche of fighting, and everybody thinks I can do it too. But then when it comes time to keep the grind going, you know just as well as I do, that's when they'll fall off. Because it's hard, man. I mean, you've been doing it for how long, dude? It's hard. So I understand how people come and go and come and go, but you've been consistent with it, bro. So the kudos is to you.
Well, it's because, bro, I look at those little kids, man. And you know, yeah, it's great being next to legends and talking about shooting UFC 3 at the Grady Cole Center in '94 in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's all fine and dandy, but you know, those people, they're quick to forget you. You know, I'll be honest with you. I mean, just like today, you know, we had the conversation before we went live. I have a collection of Kimbo Slice pictures that the world has never seen before. Now it's going to turn into a legal dispute over who owns actual intellectual property and things of that nature. You know, it is what it is. But the thing about it is, I never got into the sport for money. There is no money in this sport. You know, a lot of people, they think that, oh, I get into the sport, there's fame, there's money, there's fortune. There's a 12-hour car ride to the fight, 8 hours of shooting and 12 hours back and 6 hours of editing.
It's not as glamorous as what it comes off to be. I can promise a lot of people that.
You know, and so I mean, think about it. When me and Dan Mergliotta, we used to pay for our own airline tickets. We used to pay for our own hotel, buy a ticket to get into a venue that we were hired to work with hopes that we would get paid. You know, but would we still do it all over again? In a freaking heartbeat. But the thing that keeps me going, and I think if people know me, they really know this part about me. I have 2 Emmys. They're sitting in boxes. I have an ESPY. It's sitting in a box. I have 2 Hall of Fame inductions. They're sitting in boxes. The only 3 awards that I have out are my Golden Gloves, my USA boxing, and my ABA boxing belts that I was given from the youth. The reason this sport has kept me around so long, I believe everybody has a right to shine. You know, and I think these kids, you know, a lot of people want to talk about the kids that are out causing chaos, the kids that are out, you know, screwing up, and their parents should be ashamed of them. Well, I decided to go a different route. I wanted to show the kids that we're out doing good, creating a future for themselves in the sport and making their families proud. But I saw something that was lacking and that was missing. I saw kids going out there and training and giving their best and winning their fights and starting their legacy, but nobody was sharing them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that I would never charge to shoot a youth event. I would drive 12, 13, 14 hours to shoot a youth event. And I would spend hours editing these pictures for these kids, because let's face it, that might be the only time they've ever fought in the sport. And for them not to have any memories, you know, that's just not right. So I decided that no matter what, even if I got burned on the pro side or the AMI side or whatever, that the fighter always has to come first. And so no matter what, even if I got burned by a promoter, I would post the pictures. And the kids, no matter what, I would make sure that their families got a complete set of their fight. Because, you know, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, you know, they could show their kids. And I want them kids to be proud of the moment that they're in, proud of what they accomplished, even if they don't continue to go on and be a world champion, because not everybody wants to become a world champion. You know, everybody thinks in the sport that everybody does, but I love James Krause's analogy. There's 3 types of fighters. One that wants to tell everybody they're a fighter. 2 that actually wants to come in the gym and do some things and see where they can grow. And the 3rd is one that truly wants to be a world champion and dedicates their life to it. You know, and really, I mean, that's the best way you can put it. And James Krause is a very wise man, you know, because I watched him get interviewed and they asked him, what's it like to be 22-7? He said, I'm not 22-7. I'm 22-0 with 7 lessons learned. And, you know, even though I don't particularly care for James Krause on a personal level, and we used to be really, really tight. I mean, hell, you know, I shot Glory for almost 7 years. But the thing of it is the man is probably one of the most smartest, caring men and one of the greatest young coaches, upcoming young coaches in the sport that I've ever seen. See, that's the difference between me and a lot of people in life. I will tell you black and white how I feel. But if a person deserves the credit, the accolades, then I'm going to give it to them. You know, it's just like with you. You know, I won't go on hardly any shows. I come on your shows because you've proven time and time again that you're not after that oh gotcha story, that bull crap stuff. And see, we talk about it from time to time. And you're a very good brother with my blood, a man that I would die for, and that's Rami Zaydin Ibrahim.
It's my guy.
That, I mean, brother, you know, I got put on the no-fly zone. I got asked to go to Palestine. I got attacked by multicultural aspects, and you know, but the thing, at the end of the day, I will die for Rami. I will die for my brother, you know, and a lot of people don't get that. But when a certain promotion, I'm not going to put them on blast because, you know, blast has repercussions and it comes back on me, it comes back on you, it comes back on others. And I don't roll that way, but I'll just leave it at this. When you bring politics into sport, it's not a smooth move. When the fighter signs and says, I'm willing to die in your ring or your cage, then let them walk out however they want to walk out. If they want to walk out with their flag of their country, let them walk out with the flag of their country. If they want to walk out with their nickname on their back, then let them. You know, just because your ideology is different doesn't mean that it should be brought into the sport, because you're not willing to die for that man, but that man is willing to die for you, and you can't take that right away from him. And that's why I will no longer, you know, I turned down the job with the promotion. I will never do anything with the promotion. So that's one thing I wanted to clarify, because you know this.
Mm-hmm.
I will walk away from money to protect a fighter. I mean, I have, you know, when, you know, I'm not going to bring up the specific name of the promotion, but let's just say things were correlating and got tabled. But within 1 week's time, the promotion ended up selling a majority of its share to another company. It's because I don't give up, you know, and I'm here in defense of the fighters. And the thing of it is the sport really needs to buckle up and care more about the fighters than they do about the promotion. Because see, you'll always hear me say this. When I did interview this gentleman, I told this gentleman straight to his face, I said, I don't fucking like you. I mean, I'm black and white, bro. I mean, you seen the interview. I told the man straight to his face, I don't fucking like you. And the man offered me a job at the end of the interview. But, you know, the thing of it is in this industry, when I was first brought into it, it was like the early days of the 60s. Kids should be seen but not heard. We weren't allowed to take pictures with the fighters. We weren't allowed to even talk to the fighters. You just basically had to stand in a corner and become a shadow. You know, it's tremendous to have people like you in the sport, because you do commentating, you do shows, you do different things. And to find a multifaceted young man in this industry is rare, truly rare.
That's a breath of fresh air to hear you say. Again, not trying to cut you off, because sometimes I feel like I'm doing too much and I need to hone in on one thing. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
It's the truth, my man. Like I said, I they're calling this the greatest comeback of a legend. And first and foremost, you've seen my posts. When people call me a legend, or they say there's a picture of two legends, I say one legend and Don McGuire. Well, Burt Watson kind of made me have to eat those words. And I'm a humble man. And because my grandfather, like I said, he's the basis of who I am and why I am. But when I got Burt Watson on a show, and he was on my show, and I said, Burt, please tell these people I'm not a legend. I said, if I am, then the lady at the gas station is, the guy at the grocery store is, you know, then you are. And he says back, he goes, but you are, baby. And I'm like, gee, thanks, Bert, you know. But I mean, for me, it's not never been about status.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And, you know, I love the aspect that you do, my Marijuana Chronicles, because, you know, a lot of people don't know, just a year and a half ago, the Nevada State Athletic Commission, you know, went ahead and gave the green light for marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it allowed fighters not only to break off from CBD, but still use CBD and now utilize THC. And what you're seeing is a lot less injury in the sport, a lot less, you know, and the thing of it is it's only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because now that they've got the green light on creating different products, you know, it's like they've got ointments, they've got topical solutions, they've got things like FECO, RSO, other things that I utilize. But I mean, there's so much stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know, the tinctures, and I mean, edibles. I can go on and on and on. And you know, everybody thinks it's a stigma of smoking a joint or
And sitting back and getting high and laughing at like half baked or something. And that stigma is so old and played out that people need to open their eyes. And again, I feel like I'm cutting you off again, but that's exactly why I decided to do my Marijuana Chronicles. Is I love interviewing fighters. I can talk to fighters all day and it's a great time. But I know how beneficial cannabis has been, not only for me, but when I'm in the gym and I'm interviewing fighters, when I'm talking to these guys on a regular day-to-day basis and they talk to me about how much cannabis has helped them. Why not just say, you know what? Yeah, I'm a reporter, but you know what? Cannabis has helped me. So why don't you share your story with me? Because I'll as well share my story with you. Let's talk about it. Bring awareness to the forefront.
Yeah, but what's even more dope about it is like grandparents are finding out about this stuff, and like you brought up half baked. Yeah, that's the stigma that's around it. But if you utilize the product for what you need it for,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna be ripped. You're not gonna be blazed off your ass to where you can't do something. See, I don't think there's been enough information out there about this, but see, let me break it down in our state how it works. First, you have to go to a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and then you describe what you're going through, what you're living through, and what your everyday struggles are. Then they break out a chart, and they describe the different aspects of what the plant and what products and different things. And see, people think, oh, well, I smoke a joint and oh, my arthritis. No, that's not how it works.
Mm-mm.
That's not how it works at all. If you've got a halfway decent doctor in the cannabis industry, then what they do is they formulate a plan of action for you. And with a correlation of 2 to 3 to 4 different products, you'll be pain free. You'll have a better life, but you're not ripped. I mean, I'm on cannabis products right now and I'm not ripped. I'm not even high. I'm not nothing. Because if you utilize it for what it's meant for, it is just like anything else. If you have aspirin, you take it for a headache, it takes the headache away. That's the same thing with a lot of medical marijuana products. You take them, you're not necessarily going to get high off of them because you're utilizing them for an intensive purpose.
It's a very immature way of thinking when you broadcast it as, oh, somebody who smokes marijuana or somebody who smokes cannabis or somebody that utilizes it is a pothead. They're just using it to get high. It's a very immature and, again, like I said previously, played out way of thinking, and it shows that they're not intelligent or ignorant to the fact of any kind of um, knowledge on the herb.
Oh yeah, well, see, and that's why I tell people if you're interested or it intrigues you to get a greater understanding. I'm a man that both my knees are, well, one's fused now, but I'm bone on both knees. I have been for multiple years. I only have half my right foot. I missed the most of my left leg. I've been through 245 surgeries. Of course, I have arthritis. My hips need to be replaced. My lower back's fused. My upper back needs to be fixed. I got bulging disc in my neck. You know, I've had more rotator cuff surgeries than I can count, more knee surgeries than I can count. But what I utilize from the doctors and what the plan that they gave me, I'm pain free. Like I said, I'm going through my health issues right now, but anybody that, if I wasn't on these products before I went into these health issues, I wouldn't be here. I
And if
mean,
you told anybody what you're dealing with right now and then told them that you were pain free, chances are they wouldn't believe you. There's no way feasibly somebody would think, oh, he can be living through that and not be pain free. It's just that can't happen. But it can.
and the thing of it is right now, I mean, I'm sitting right in front of you. They've taken me, I just got out of the hospital a couple of days ago. They've taken me off all my heart medications because my heart is jumping up and down, up and down, up and down. They don't know why. They're right now. They just did another panel. They're checking me for a viral or bacterial infection. They said COVID related viral or bacterial infection, which I just tested negative twice for COVID. Um, Even though it's like they say you have to get vaccinated, and I don't have an immune system, so my doctor said I couldn't get vaccinated. But the thing is, I made it through COVID. Is everybody going to be as lucky as me? No, but it hits everybody different. But I'd be sitting here lying to you if I said I didn't lose 60 friends last year.
Mm.
One being the polar bear, Paul Verlins. That hit me hard, and I seen the pictures of what that man looked like the day he died because I was on a Skype call with him, and not even 2 hours after I told him I love you, he passed away. And the thing of it is, though, is people need to realize is, even though I'm going through the dark moments that I am, if it wasn't for Grant Wistrom, if it wasn't for Revival 98, if it wasn't for the research that I did, into medical marijuana and the byproducts and the products that it creates, I really wouldn't be here. I mean, yeah, I have fluctuating heart issues right now, blood pressures. But that's because I have a hormone deficiency in my brain caused by my diabetes. Now, will I research it and look if there's see if there's a product that will help me with that in medical marijuana? You better damn straight, because everything that bro, I'm 20/55 in both eyes from shooting for so long. I get to 20/60, I'm blind. Um, I've noticed an improvement in my eyesight. My hearing's getting better. There's just so many different parts of me that are feeling like I'm 20 years old again, that there's no way in hell. Anybody that will listen to this, don't take my word for it. Go and do your research, man. Research is cheap, it's free. And you're going to find out that there is products for you. I mean, you can even get products that don't even have THC in them. They just have CBD, and they'll still help you in the same manner. It doesn't have to be a THC, product. It could be CBD. It could be. There's a lot of different things coming out. The only thing I do suggest you stay away from is things that are like Delta 8 and things like that. Those are genetically modified products that man created and diluted down and created to give you euphoria or whatever. That's not the proper way to go. If you think this is the right path for you, I think you should reach out to. There's multiple online doctors. There's also multiple doctors probably in your own city or town. Have a consultation with them. It's cheap. It's free for the most part. And if you decide it's the way you want to go, it's only $176 for the year to get your medical marijuana card and have them fill all the paperwork out for you. And then what they do is you're allowed as many visits with them as you want, as many consultations with that doctor as you want throughout the year. So if you have different problems, they're not going to charge you $100 to $200 like a regular doctor will. You call them, it's free. They just give you a new avenue to go on, something else to try. And I found that my medical care has turned 100-fold. A lot of people say, well, I don't believe that because you've been so sick this last year. But the thing of it is, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for medical marijuana products. That's the thing that people don't realize. I mean, I was already a chronic pain patient, so I was already on certain things. And right now they just did a full panel. They just did full X-ray, CTs, everything. I had an 8-inch lesion on my right lung from COPD. It's gone. It's completely gone. This is why the Ellis Fishel Cancer Center up at Columbia and Mizzou, they're tripping out, bro, because they're like, where'd it go? And for years I've watched this lesion grow from a 2-3-inch lesion to an 8-inch lesion to where they're telling me, oh, you might have to be on oxygen. We're going to have to put you on Symbicort and COPD meds. And I did this FECO treatment for my cancer, and the lesion's gone.
Wow. Amazing.
So, well, the thing of it is, bro, like I said, it's helped with my eyesight. It's helped with my hearing. I was on a feeding tube for 15 years. I never was hungry. Now I'm hungry. I'm starting to enjoy food again. My wife used to have to kick me in the ass to get me to eat. They used to bug me all day long. Now I'm waking up saying, hey, let's go get something to eat. And it's changed my life. People I don't know, they really don't understand, bro. I mean, I've been given more than 15 death sentences in the last 31 years. I've had 245 surgeries. Like you said, I'm getting ready for my 246th. But the thing of it is, I wouldn't come on here and talk about something that I didn't believe in. I mean, this stuff, bro, like I said, I went through my last surgery without any pain medicine.
Wild. And considering all these health concerns, and I feel like I know this answer, but I want to hear it from the mouth of the man. You could call it a day. You can kick it with your family and your friends, and what you've made in this wonderful sport. Because, like you've said, Kung Lee, Pat Mills. I mean, the names go down the line. Why do you continue to push forward in this crazy world of combat sports? I know the answer. I just need to hear it from you.
It's who I am, bro. It's all I know. My life is about giving to others. My life is, see, the best way I could explain this is going back, like I said, to that homeless dude on that porch stoop. That old man didn't have to sit down and offer me a place to stay or a job. I mean, hell, I called him a pervert at first, but he gave me an opportunity, and he created a great individual, and 2 months later, of course, you know the story. I met my wife. She's been in my life for 41 years, and this May will be our 38th wedding anniversary. But the older I get, the more his words instill value in me. And a lot of people don't get that, but the sport is the same way. Um, yeah, you're right. I could walk away. And basically, like my wife says, there's no other man on the face of this planet that can say that they've walked the path that I have or done the things that I've done. But it's never been about me. It never will be about me. It'll always be for the betterment of the person that's trying to grow, or like I had Jerome Coffey on, and I know I'm taking a sidetrack real quick, but I had Jerome Coffey on, a tremendous boxer, never won a world title. Was training along the sides of Eddie Mustafa Muhammad and, other tremendous trainers in this world. And a young man by the name of Scotty the Bulldog Olson that just won the Commonwealth Games in Canada, took a gold. And he was being trained by Eddie Mustafa, but Jerome Coffey had this rapport with him. And so Scotty clung to him and made Jerome Coffey his trainer. It helped two people out that day because Jerome was at the end of his career and was looking for reason to stay in the sport. And then he found the pupil in Scotty the Bulldog Olson. And it created a life for Jerome as a trainer, but it also created a future for Scotty the Bulldog Olson. Now, I did a show a few weeks back with Jerome Coffey and Scotty the Bulldog Olson because Scotty's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, that show wasn't for me. It wasn't for my listeners. It was for Jerome Coffey and Scotty Olson. I brought them on because they don't talk very much. One lives in Canada, the other one lives in Alabama or Tennessee, something like that. But what I wanted was, and this is the way I roll in the sport, I wanted the grasshopper to tell the mentor, thank you. I wanted them to be able to share those memories that they had that they long forget. My job on the radio is to put people on a soapbox, to let them tell the stories that people have forgotten, like the Harlem Butcher, man. I'll never forget this, bro. He said, I walk down the street. I'm a multiple world champion. Nobody knows my name. Nobody knows who I am. I go in the barbershop. I tell stories. They don't go past the walls. He goes, but yet you put me on your show. You put me on a soapbox and the whole world gets to hear me. Now, how can you not want to do that, bro?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes it, the memories, they'll last forever. The feeling that you get to provide with somebody else sharing their story, which is always an excellent story. And the stories themselves, they can't be made up. The story, the walks of life these guys go through, every single one of them, it's always different. What brings them into the sport, it's always for a different reason or always a different avenue, always different cause. So everybody's story is always so original. I love everybody's. It's always fun to hear. Why would somebody want to get into a physical confrontation with another man or a woman as a source of income, man? I love it. I love it every single time. And it lures me in for days, man. But so when you look back on these years you spent in the wild world of combat sports, did you imagine seeing all these feats and beautiful friendships blossoming?
No, bro. That's also a double-edged sword too,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
because it's hard for me, and I'm probably going to lose some friends over what I'm about to say. But I got started in boxing,
Yeah,
and this last year has been hell. I have a tremendous support system on social media. I'm not going to deny that those people are true.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are genuine. But when it comes to the fighters that you start with, from amateurs to winning a world title, or an amateur to getting to the UFC, fuck it, I'm just going to tell a story of Colby Covington. This is a young man that I interviewed and shot from an amateur all the way up to the UFC. Every one of his fights, all the way up to the Damian Amaya fight in Brazil, the man came on my show every Tuesday. We were like brothers. Colby never acted like he does now. For some reason, he thought he needed to be the new Conor McGregor or whatever the hell it wants to be. I don't play that type of crap in this sport. But when you call the people of Brazil heathens, which is actually a third of my fan base on my syndicated show. Of course, I'm not going to have you on my show. He called me up and said, "Hey, bro, we good for Tuesday?" I said, "No." "Why?" I said, "Because you just attacked a third of my fan base, bro." So then he had his mom, Noelle, hit me up and say, "Don, please, 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 can you just let him tell the Fabrizio Verdum situation, why he called the police?" And me being the nice guy that I am, I said, "Sure." Well, that morning, about 11 o'clock, Colby knows the show wasn't until 9 p.m. Central. So about 11 p.m. Central, he starts calling me and tells me I should be grateful that I get 15 minutes of Colby Covington's time. If I don't do the show now, I'm not going to get Colby. And I'm like, "Dude, fuck off, dude. I've known you since you were a little snot-nosed kid. You still are." I said, you know what time the show is? Quit fucking blowing me up. Either show up, man up, or I'll get somebody else. Make long story short, he kept bugging me. And finally, I just turned off my phone. I told him, "You be there at 9 o'clock or you're not on the show." And I called Zach Cummings up and I said, "Hey, man, I don't want you to be sloppy seconds, but Colby's being a real prick. He begged to come on the show. Now he's pulling this crap." I said, "So I'll tell you what, if you'd fill in that slot for me, I'd be very much appreciative." He said, "Bro, I got you." He goes, "But trust me, Colby's going to show up. He's got too big of an ego." Well, about a minute and a half before showtime, Colby calls. Now, mind you, in the back of my head, I should be grateful to get 15 minutes of Colby Covington's time. So, you got a counter. We all have counters. And I'm sitting there watching the counter. It's at 14:20, and I'm starting to get pissed, bro. I'm starting to get mad. And it's like just about 14 minutes and 52 seconds in. I said, "You know what, Colby? You told me I should be grateful for 15 minutes of your time." I said, "Sir, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. Have a good night and God bless." And he was right in the middle of, this really explicit, narrative. And it's like, he calls me, "Bro, did you really just throw me off the show?" I said, "You bet I did." And then I blocked him, and it's people like that, I don't know, bro. I mean, I was there for day one and they get this little taste of fame and they want to forget about you. Yesterday, I got a text message from Liam McGuire. And I said, "Mate, I just want to thank you for checking in on me." I said, "As you know," I said, "this sport, when you lose a fight, there's nobody there." I said, "Well, the same thing when you get sick." And Liam knows this quite well because he's still mending after 3 years after Phil Davis broke his jaw. Well, the message I got back from Liam McGuire is, "Fuck them, mate. You've been in my life for a decade. You've been there since day one." He goes, "I'm going to check in on you whether you want me to or not. You're my family, so fucking deal with it, and fuck them. They can all piss off." You talk about relationships in this sport. I know you've seen my interview with Bill Clancy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the probably only refs. See, I'm going to give you all a history lesson real quick on Adam's dime. Back in the end of 93, 94, Bill Clancy was considered one of the fastest rising aspects of boxing. That's an acclaim that most fighters don't even get. And this dude's a referee. This is right at the end of 93, 94, the beginning of the NABF. This man has officiated more fights than anybody I know. As you've seen, he sent me pictures from Mike Tyson's fights. Mm-hmm. The thing about it is relationships like that are golden because Bill's been in this industry about 40 years. I'm not too far behind him, but seeing him in that elevator in Jackson, Mississippi. And I said, don't fucking act like you don't know me, old man. And he turned around and went, holy crap. But, you know, that relationship right there is golden, man. And then to have like Joe Daddy Stevenson and others, you know, pay reflect to me. It's a true homage. You know, we talked about Kung Lee interviewing me, you know, and you know, the thing about it is there's good and bad, but through this last year, I found out that boxing has my back more than MMA. But it's a different brotherhood. It's a different sisterhood. When Diego Chico Corrales got killed after I shot his fight here in Springfield, he got killed 3 days later. I stepped away from boxing for a minute. Boxing locked the door on me. And it took James Lights Out Tony and several other individuals to get me back in the good graces of boxing. But throughout my trials and tribulations this last year, I've heard more from boxers than I have from people that I helped create in MMA. You know, of course, Joe Daddy Stevenson was there, Liam McGuire was there, Pat's been there, but 99.9% of the people that I've helped, and not that I was even looking for a phone call or just whatever, you know, people don't understand that what I do isn't just on the weekend. It isn't just on my show. You know, from being in this industry over half my life, you become family, you become blood with a lot of these people. And I'm just going to say it like it is. This sport, a lot of people, 90+% of the people in the sport will utilize you until they don't need you anymore.
They're out for number one.
Yeah. And once you're disposable, you're disposable. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like with my images of Kimbo. You know, they're saying that, yeah, that they bought a right to his likeness, but yeah, my pictures were taken while the man was still alive. My pictures were taken before the man even passed. Sorry.
You're fine.
But the thing of it is I was never contracted by anybody. You know, I own my own work. My work was done before his likeness was appropriated. I mean, am I willing to lose a brother in Kimbo Slice Jr. and Baby Slice over money? No. So, you know, we'll talk about it. We'll make it work. But the thing of it is this sport, whether you think they're your best friend, your best brother, they will turn on you in a heartbeat. They don't, you know, and I'm not saying that to just, you know, cause crap, but I mean, dude, look, I was the Diaz brothers' personal photographer for 3.5 years. And they shit on me quicker than anything. You know, I mean, let's face it, man. The only title that Nick Diaz ever won was in Strikeforce. Neither one of them ever won a title in the UFC, but yet they want to act like they're better than everybody else. The same with Mayhem Miller. The only thing he's ever going to be known for is Sakuraba and bully beatdowns. You know, it's like, my point is nobody's better than anybody in this sport. Just because you got a little bit of gold around your waist shouldn't change what's golden in your heart. And it does. And it sickens me, bro, that so many people let fame go to their head. You know, I remember Syed Awad used to come on my show. We're the tightest brothers ever. But because of the way I run my show, he was like, before his fight with Ben Henderson, he said, I can't come on your show. He said, you'll get into my head and you'll get into my heart. We haven't spoke since then. You know, he took that loss to Henderson, but me and Syed Awad's family still speak. But they even said that he's that way with them. See, people need to understand that a lot of these athletes put all their eggs in one basket in the sport. And you take Syed Awad, he wanted to win that world title so bad that it destroyed the great man that he was. You know, and I hate seeing that. So that's the reason I do the show the way I do. You know, you look at Daniel Cormier. I knew that man before he was even a fighter, when he was just just got hired as a youth wrestling coach at AKA. And when I had him on my show, I said, take away the UFC, all the fans, take fucking Dana White, everybody, take every aspect the fuck away from it. I said, why does Daniel Cormier, the man, continue to fight for the 205-pound strap? I said, I don't want to know the warrior bullshit. I want to know why you. And he got quiet, bro. And he came back crying. He said, because I lost my daughter. And bro, it tore me apart, but it created an even bigger bond between me and Daniel Cormier. And then it's like the show that I did with Todd El Tiburon Medina, fought from No Holds Barred, fought, I think, UFC 4, 5, 6, and 8. He was talking about how he was giving his daughter a bath, and he pulled the plug and went to go get a towel. She was a newborn, and went to dry her off, and she died in his arms. And these are the types of stories that get told on my show, because my show is real. And the thing of it is, about 4 months, 5 months later, Todd Medina called me and he said, I love you, bro. And I said, love you too. I said, what's up, dog? He said, I just wanted to tell you, thank you for giving me back my life. And, it's like, what do you mean? He said, I've been carrying that on my shoulders for all these years, and you gave me the opportunity. I said, no, you gave yourself the opportunity to share the story. I just gave you the platform. See,
but somebody has to feel comfortable enough to share some stuff with certain people, 100%, without a doubt. You're not going to share some stuff with some people that you would with some others, and that's just human nature.
Yeah, I mean, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you're a fan of some of my shows, and there's not another show out there like it. There's not. Are there bad shows? Yeah. I'd be a liar, and if anybody says they've never had a bad show, they could. I mean,
you're lying to yourself if you say that.
Well, especially like in this aspect, it's like, I mean, on a syndicated show, I never had a technical difficulty unless the fighter's phone died or something like that, because I'm in a big major studio. I'm running through, iHeart or Sirius at the time. And the thing of it is you never have problems like that.
Right.
But when your show is only as good as my internet connection, just like my show is only as good as your internet connection. And people don't want to realize that. I don't like doing video. I didn't want to do video, but I'm also the type of person that when I get bored with something or when I conquer something, I have to move on. And out of my whole career, as you know, in 2021, I set down my cameras. I mean, I'm still doing seminars and I'm still doing a few things here and there. But the only thing in my life that I've never felt that I have conquered or will be able to conquer is the art of interviewing.
Really? I feel like everybody, I say everybody in the broad term, but when interviewers have their own knack and their niche, not everybody's going to be the same. People are going to compare themselves to this person and wish they can have that person's aspect of this. But when in the grand scheme, it's your individuality that's what makes you. And you know this just as well as I do. The sooner anybody realizes that, the sooner you're going to be better off, because the more real you are, the more people, they can read through bullshit. They can read through it the mile away. The realer you are, the better off you're going to be.
Well, you said it. You hit it right on the head. I mean, if you go to my page, I could be with one of the greatest fighters in the world and take a picture with them. And then I could post a picture of myself and post it. I'll get more likes on the picture of myself than I will with a legend. When it comes to my radio show, I get significant amount of likes for whatever I do, wherever I put it. But people don't like me for my show. People don't like me for my pictures. And I'm just now, I mean, you hit it right on the head. People like me because I'm me. And I didn't realize that until the godmother of boxing last year said, damn, Don, do you realize how many people love you? And I didn't. I didn't realize that I had made that much of a difference in the sport, because I didn't come in the sport for it to be about me. I came into the sport to make differences in other people's paths. But at the same time, like you said, people can smell bullshit a mile off. And what's transpiring and growing and adding to the legacy that I brought to the sport is the camaraderie, the real that is being now added into my life. My page is public, bro. Just my one personal, I have 17 different pages, but just the one personal page, I have 5,000 friends and 5,000 followers. I have more followers than most fighters do on my personal page. I don't care for a blue check page. I don't need a blue check next to my name to tell me what I've done in the sport or, ooh, you qualified. Who gives a shit about that? You know, um, it like I said, it means more to me what you just said, because I'm just now realizing it after all these years that people care more about me than they do about my show, than they do about my pictures or anything else that I've done in the sport. Because what I did in all these years by giving back and creating for others, people now realize and see the path that I created and who I truly am and what I truly invoke in the sport. Will everybody ever know the true me or whole me? No. I mean, you know a lot more about me than most people do.
Right.
I'm
But only your family's ever going to know you through and through, and that's just a fact of life.
not even them.
Taking secrets to the grave.
Right.
No, I'm playing, but I have a question in the spirit of this cannabis themed programming. You've
Yeah.
been around a lot of people in this game. I know you've smoked with a ton of people. I'm not going to drop names. I'm not going to ask you for names because that's you and their business. What my question is given the people that you know, given the people you've smoked with, who is somebody that you have not been able to share a joint with and been able to pick their brain that you would love to?
Scott Coker.
Ah, that was quick.
Yep.
That was very quick. Jesus.
I'll tell you why, because we were sitting cage side. I can't say the cut man or other individuals that I was with. And I just happened to have the vape
Hmm.
as Coker was walking by. I mean, and I was ripping it. I'm not gonna lie, it was fight night. I knew I was gonna end up hurting and I didn't want to hurt. And then Coker as he's walking by, I'm oh, thank God, and I'm just ripping the hell out of this thing. I put it down on my side, and he makes a beeline back, and he goes, "Don, you can let it out. I already smelt it." So, so that made me realize that Scott Coker is a lot. He's a hell of a lot cooler than I ever thought he was. But yeah, I would love to sit down with Scott Coker and just really do a few dabs and smash a few bong loads and a couple pre-rolls and just to see what he says, just to because I already know what Dana White's like. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
like in that avenue, it's nothing new. But I mean, but I will tell you what, man, being able to smoke with some of the greatest people from because I shoot concerts too.
Hmm.
So being able to smoke with some of the greatest people in the sport, and then being able to smoke with people like Wiz Khalifa, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Little White, Lil Flip, I mean, Mary J. Blige. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on. Um, the only one that won't let me smoke with him anymore is Wiz Khalifa.
Really? Can you tell me why?
Because I can't hang. Well, bro, it's at his last show, it was like he kept loading and loading and loading and loading and loading and loading. And I knew I had to work, but I mean, let's just face it, he has his own strain.
Mhm.
It's chronic, and when that's your favorite pastime, you're gonna get the best of the best. And I just couldn't finish the bong load that he gave me, and he said, if you can't finish it, you can't smoke with me. Well, I couldn't finish it, so I can't smoke with Wiz no more. But on the highlight, when I did Bone Thugs and Harmony, because they're part of my family, we have the same sponsors and they've been on my shows and I shoot their Midwest tours and things. But I tell you what, we picked them up at the hotel and we took them to the venue before the show and we were downstairs. They have a guy that does nothing but actually rolls spliffs. I mean, that's
Very
all this.
similar to Snoop. They pay somebody to pay a dude to do it.
Yeah, and this is all this dude does. And so, like, they took my camera from me because they found out it was my wife's birthday. They said, "You're not going to shoot tonight's show." I said, "But why am I here?" They said, "You're going to walk out on stage with us. It's your wife's birthday. We're family. We're going to party." So they locked my camera up in a locker. I was pissed off because I wanted to shoot. But we walked out on stage with them. And then I got off the stage a little bit, and I was sitting right next to Sloan Bone and the guy that rolls the spliffs, and he kept rolling them. He'd light it, hand it to me. About 30, 40 of them later, I just kind of like, kind of feeling it. Because I don't drink. So, it's like, and then so I put Sloan in between me and him, Sloan Bone, and Sloan just hands it to me. So he just takes it from the guy, just still hands it to me. So I started just handing them to people in the crowd, bro. Because after about 50 or 100 spliffs hitting, I mean, it's like, it was so funny though, because my wife pulled a major party foul. I mean, I caught her before we did. After the show, we were downstairs. They had been pouring Patron and giving her huge blunts all night and things. And they really took a liking to my wife. And so I noticed she was kind of giving that party foul look. So I was like, hey, let's go. And I told my assistant and my son to make sure that Lazy and all of them got back to the hotel because I was responsible for them. And it kind of pissed me off that I didn't get to go to the after party with them, but it was pretty dope. The things about, you talk about taking away things. We already talked about my son being my best friend, and he went and got slammed with Lazy Bone. Hell, Lazy Bone probably left about 4 pounds of bud on the front seat of my partner's car. But my son took it back to him, and he brought him in the room. He says, "Come on in, man." And he opened up the safe, and he brought out a chain, and he put the chain around my son's neck, and he took a picture with my son. And that was the son that Eazy-E gave to Lazy Bone when they signed Bone Thugs and Harmony. Oh, it's the fourth dope person ever to have that necklace around their neck. And so that's what I love about what I do, bro, is because I get to take my son with me, because I always get my +1. My son's traveled the world with me. My son smokes with me, family that smokes together, tokes together, it's however you want to say it. But it's really made, I mean, and people don't get me wrong, my son is 35 years old. So, but the thing of it is it's like he has medical marijuana card too. But the thing of it is, you know what? There's a lot less fighting in my house. There's a lot less fighting, a lot more love. But it's true. A family that smokes together stays together.
Yep.
I mean, my wife smokes, I smoke, my son smokes, and you know what? You won't hear an argument out of our house. I mean, the thing of it is, it's like we might go through a lot more food than anybody else, but it's helped relationships. But I think seriously on the medical part, just to let people know, we've joked around a little bit about it here and there, but if it wasn't for the FECO, if it wasn't for the different tinctures and edibles and things of that nature, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you, bro.
Which speaks volumes for the plant in itself, man. God put it here for a reason, whether you want to believe it or not.
Well, I mean, the man that found it believed in it so much that he was willing to go to prison. These kids were having 40 to 80 seizures a day. The Federal Bureau of Investigations, the DEA, everybody was looking for Rick Simpson. The man didn't charge a parent, so they really couldn't. What could they charge him for? I mean, he never made no money off it, not one red cent. So he saved all these kids. I mean, why would these kids are on pharmaceuticals, having multiple seizures a day, and it's not doing a damn thing for them but killing them, because you're putting in foreign substances into your body. And these parents don't know. They want what's best for their kids, so they're willing to do whatever the doctor says. But then you have this man named Rick Simpson who comes along and tells you, just give your kid this little bit of, tincture or oil every day, and they won't have seizures. And, nobody believed it. But I tell you what, when I went back and read some of the research papers that were actually done after, some of these kids were having 70, 80 seizures a day. most of them went down to only having 1, 2 seizures a day, and a third of them had no seizures. So what he essentially did was give these kids a life. I mean, he really did. He gave their parents peace of mind. He gave these kids a life. I mean, so when you think about marijuana, don't be like me with that clinic and thinking, giving it a stigma. You know, open your heart, open your mind, and you'll understand that we've been fed all these poisonous pills for hundreds of years. Think about it. They used to put Coke in Coca-Cola back in the 20s. I mean, it's funny how, you look at even mushrooms now, even though I don't do mushrooms, I've researched it. And from what I've understand, people with PTSDs, a lot of people with anger issues and disorders, they have normal lives now.
Even with depression, it's helping a lot of people. I know multiple people personally that they go through the route of they've weaned off of their depression medicine by grinding up the psilocybin to a fine powder, putting it in capsules themselves, dosing it, which they they're doing it themselves and healing themselves without the need of pharmaceuticals. Now, granted, you're going to have to put a lot of time and effort and studies into it, but the proof is there. It is doing things. You're not putting things in your body that's going to be reaping havoc. Just say
No, and see, they got to understand that it's done through microdosing. It's not a mass.
microdosing, right?
Yeah, microdosing is the key factor here. And see, I think I love your show, bro, because this is so pertinent. I mean, even though we've talked about it, that, like I said, I wouldn't be here. And the thing about it is, it's like to be on the narcotics that I was on 120 milligrams of morphine a day,
Which is
380 milligrams.
insane.
Yeah, and 380 milligrams of methadone, 60 milligrams of clozapine, and 90 milligrams of Dilaudid. And I was still shooting fights, bro.
But because a doctor prescribes it, it's deemed okay. But then
Yeah,
somebody that smokes a joint just to make themselves feel better or even wind down from a long day, that's a drug addict. Come on. Come
yeah.
on.
That's why I love that the stigma has been taken away from the sport of MMA. I mean,
Hmm.
everybody knows me and Jacob Stister, man, are the Cheech and Chong of MMA. I mean, and really, we kind of actually do look like it. I mean, if you really think about it, but uh, you know, it blew my mind the first time I found out he did. I thought when he said, "Let's go smoke," I thought he wanted to go have a cigarette. And we went by the live feed truck. He said, "No, come around here." Went around the corner of the building, pulls out this big Cheech and Chong joint, and that was the first time I ever got high with Stitch. And he doesn't hide it. I don't hide it. Why should we have to hide something that we're not embarrassed about? I'm proud that I utilize marijuana because, for one, I'm saving about 20 grand a year in prescription costs. I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm still alive. If I was still on all those pharmaceuticals, I wouldn't be here, dude. People don't understand. 120 milligrams of methadone a day. When you go into the hospital, I mean morphine, and you go in the hospital and they give you a morphine shot, they're only giving you 5 milligrams, and you're like, oh, and you think the pain's gone.
Hmm.
Imagine being on 120 milligrams and trying to shoot a fight.
That's it's a walking zombie, it sounds like.
But, I did it.
Right,
See, that's
right.
that's the thing. I mean, even people don't understand. Like, it's like people ask me if I could go back in time. Like MMA Junkie asked me if I could go back in time and get my leg back and get my health back. Would I? No, not in a freaking heartbeat. Some of my greatest work, some of my greatest passion, some of the greatest meanings from the sport and relationships from the sport came after my darkest days. But the thing of it is to be considered part of the 1% of the sport, it's the greatest blessing of all. A lot of people want to clown on me because I started at the top in championship boxing. I didn't have to start for a regional promotion or grade B promotion or whatever. I started at the top, and people want to clown on me all the time for that. But you know what? That's fine. You could talk all the head you want all day long, but I earned the right to stay at the top. I mean, I didn't become a 2-time Hall of Famer. I didn't win all these awards because I was a piece of crap. I won it because I was always looking to step outside the box. And people don't realize I had to redefine myself not once, but twice. See, people don't understand. When I first came into this industry, it was 35 millimeter. Then about 2010, 2011, it went to SLR and it went to digital.
I
I was
can't
on the
imagine
same,
the learning curve of having to go through all those spectrums of photography throughout the years of keeping up. I couldn't imagine it. I'm having a tough time keeping up right now.
bro. But see, people don't realize that they could say I started at the top,
Yeah.
but I got knocked down to the bottom with everybody else. I had to learn how to program a digital camera. I had to learn how to utilize it. I mean, I shoot in shutter aperture where a lot of people say I'm crazy because you have to constantly control your ISO. But that's how I learned. It's easier for me. A lot of people shoot in program and manual and all that other crap, but I learned the hard way. I show people how to shoot, but Dana White gave me one of the greatest compliments that I've ever gotten, and I've heard it multiple times since then. Dana White said that I was probably one of the top 5 photographers in combat sports, and I disagree with him. And a lot of people don't understand why I disagree with him. Well, because my 2 mentors are still alive, and they will smoke me 7 days a week, twice on Sunday, bro. And it's like, I don't think I'll ever surpass the people that taught me. So, I mean, I'm grateful for the compliment, but I nowhere near feel that I'm in one of the top 5 photographers in the world. Now, I will say this: the stuff that people see on my Facebook page, that's all throwaways. That's stuff that didn't make the cut. That's stuff that, I got back on a card, or it was just garbage and I tried to re-edit it, make it better, this and that. But it's like, to see my work on UFC video games and knowing that I can't sue nobody because they turned it from an image into a lithograph kind of pisses you off a little bit.
I bet it does.
But I think I want to make one more thing before we get off here.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, bro.
You're good, bro.
But this show right here, it's righteous, bro, because I trust you. I'm willing to come on here and speak about this. I can't on any other show.
Appreciate it.
What you're doing is you're giving people of the sport opportunities to share who they are without feeling ridiculed, without feeling persecuted, or feeling like there's going to be a curveball from around the corner. You know as well as I do, they're calling this the greatest comeback of a legend. But the thing of it is, I've turned down everybody except for a couple magazines and a couple of newspapers on interviews, but I'll never turn down an interview with you.
Thank you.
Because, well, you don't have, no, bro, thank you, because what you bring is real. And that's what I bring. I bring real. And unless you can bring real, I don't want nothing to do with you. Everything is always about the betterment of the person that's sitting like you. Let's say, every other show wants to make themselves shine. They want, I interviewed this person, they want to puff their chest out. It's not about you. See, you're walking the same walk as I am. And, I think you should get credit for it, bro, because not very many people know how many hats you wear. I mean, I know how many hats you wear, and it's not an easy job. I keep it secret what I do, just like you do. But the thing of it is, bro, I give you praise for this show. I give you praise for what you do, because it's not easy to find time to interview people, especially when we got 40 other different things going on at once. I mean, let's face it, we have to hustle to stay in this business. I'm brokering deals. I'm getting fighters here. I'm matchmaking this. I'm doing that. That's the only way we can live. That's the only way we can do this. People need to understand that it isn't we just, turn on the computer and we're going to do a show and that's all we input into the sport. No, it takes 100,000 more hours of hard labor just to get to this 1 hour of relaxation. And so thank you for what you do, bro. I mean, you're tremendous at what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you know the sentiment's mutual. I've said it to you before, and I mean it, man. But wrapping things up before I let you go, I want to ask you something, and I feel like I'm ripping a page out of the old Don McGuire book. But wrapping things up, you've had an impact in the sport. You've enthralled your life into combat sports for a great portion of your life. The only problem is life flies by. It's tons of lasting memories. But my question is, what do you want people to remember Don McGuire for when our number's called?
For my persistence, a man that shot a fight 4 days after getting my gallbladder, my appendix, part of my spleen, 10 feet of my intestine, um, most of my stomach, and a feeding tube put in, and shooting a fight 4 days later. After getting my back fused and shooting a fight 3 days later. After getting my prosthesis and shooting a seminar 4 days later. I want to be remembered for the man that never, was always persistent, never gave up, and never looked for an excuse. See, the problem in life is too many people want to give excuses. But like I told you, that when my grandfather put his foot in my ass, he taught me a valuable lesson. We create things in our life that we have to own up and be responsible for. I don't expect no other man to feed my wife or my son. I don't expect no other man to pay my bills. So on the final thing of this show is persistence and positive, me being positive towards others and creating paths for fighters that didn't have opportunities and weren't going to be given opportunities. Remember, I'm a man that let a guy give a farewell speech from Bellator when he went 0-6 in Bellator. And the reason I let him give that farewell speech was because he told his kids he was going to make it to Bellator. He told his kids he was going to be a professional fighter. What did he do? He did both. He made it all the way to Bellator. Was he unsuccessful? Yes, in some aspects. But what he did showed his kids and other kids that when you set out to do something, you see it through. No matter the outcome, you see it through. And that's the same with you and your listeners and even me. When you set out to do something, you do it right, you see it through, and the whole world will change. On top of that, get your granny high, and let's all live happy.
The undefeated and undisputed Don McGuire, ladies and gentlemen.